Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Polish President Andrzej Duda has appointed Jaroslaw Kaczynski as Deputy Prime Minister. With this, the Law and Justice President returns to the Council of Ministers after a year. Other Deputy Prime Ministers lost this title but remain as ministers. Law and Justice politicians stress that this move strengthens the government. The existing Deputy Prime Ministers Mariusz Błaszczak, Jacek Sasin, Piotr Gliński and Henryk Kowalczyk remain in the government, but Jarosław Kaczynski will be the only Deputy Prime Minister. According to ruling party politicians, today's change will allow for better coordination between the Prime Minister and the various ministries. By the decision of Party President Jarosław Kaczynski, MEP Joachim Brodzinski has become the Chief of Staff of the Law and Justice Party. He replaced Tomasz Poręba in this position. Brodzinski previously served as the party's vice president, among other positions. The President of Law and Justice, Kaczynski, returned to the United Right government after a year's break. He served as Deputy Prime Minister from October 2020 to June 2022, while also serving as Chairman of the National Security and Defence Affairs Committee. Jarosław Kaczynski is the main author of the Homeland Defence Act. This provides for increasing the size of the Polish army to 300,000 soldiers and defence spending to 3% of gross domestic product. Last year alone, the Ministry of Defence contracted for the purchase of equipment, including tanks, fighters and missile systems, for more than 100 billion zloty. The European Commission plans to introduce new fees and taxes to be paid by individual member states, including Poland. MEP Jacek Saryusz-Wolski says that the EU budget is running out of money. The EU's liabilities are growing and it will soon either have to cut the budget or look for new sources of revenue. The European Commission wants to increase budget revenues by another 66 billion euros. Receipts for the budget set for the 2021 to 2027 are based on VAT collected by member states, customs duties and direct contributions from member states. The EU budget is starting to fail. If there is no agreement on new EU taxes or an increase in member contributions, it potentially gives Poland, which will get its way by saying no, a huge leverage. The European Commission wants to introduce new taxes, including a border carbon tax, plus plans to increase member states' contributions and adjust the ETS. The proposal to increase the financial framework by 66 billion euros. The money is to be mostly for aid to Ukraine. Part of the money will also be used to repay Brussels' obligations under the EU Reconstruction Fund. Not a single euro from the Reconstruction Fund has been received by Sweden, the Netherlands, Ireland, Poland and Hungary. There is a problem with repayment because interest rates in the EU have risen. The increase in interest rates is one of the effects of the global financial crisis, for which experts cite the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine as causes. According to Eurostat data, while poverty levels are rising in Europe, they are falling in Poland. In 2022, the rate of people at risk of poverty in Romania was 34%, in Bulgaria 32% and in Greece 26%. The Czech Republic, Slovenia and Poland fared best in this comparison. In fact, when it comes to fighting poverty, the last few years in Poland have seen great improvements. The 500+ programme, for example, is one part of this effort. The main problem in Europe today is a question of how to allocate those funds that we have within the EU budget. In my opinion, we all the time allocate too little of these funds for the real construction of a modern economy that can compete with the leaders, primarily the United States. But the European Commission's decision to increase contributions and impose new taxes must be made unanimously. The principle of unanimity applies, which means that such a decision must be made jointly. The European Commission's proposal to expand its own resources package, according to Tomasz Sakiewicz, is a curiosity, as Poland still has not received funds from the Reconstruction Fund. It seems that all these circuses around the rule of law, non-payment, delay, still had a second bottom. The bottom line was the lack of money in the EU budget. The EU is, moreover, as a result of disastrous policies, and completely insolvent. And now it wants to impose new taxes, while at the same time not guaranteeing us to pay this money. This is utter impudence. The National Reconstruction Plan was approved last year. However, Poland is still waiting for money from the Reconstruction Fund. Almost 160 billion zloty is at stake. A conference on rebuilding Ukraine, organised by the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, was held in London today. United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced that the United States will provide Ukraine with more than $1.3 billion in additional financial assistance. Tangible financial assistance was also offered by the European Union.
Even as we come together here in London, committed to supporting Ukraine's build-up, Russia continues to try to burn it down. So, let's be clear. Russia is causing Ukraine's destruction, and Russia will eventually bear the cost of Ukraine's reconstruction. We will continue to stand with the people of Ukraine.
I believe the European Union has a special responsibility. And the reason is simple. We heard the President. Ukrainians tell us that when they imagine their future, they see Europe's flag flying over their cities. And I have no doubt that Ukraine will be part of our union. So today, Ukraine has accelerated its reform agenda with impressive speed and resolve. We in the European Union want to match efforts and dedication. And this is why today the European Commission presents a new oral update on the progress Ukraine made, on judicial reform, on anti-corruption, on new laws for media freedom and international minorities, for example. With these reforms, Ukraine also sends a powerful message to private investors.
With this and everything that we do here, we are sending a message that our support on the battlefield and beyond cannot be outlasted, and that Ukraine's incredible spirit will prevail. The question for us today is, what can we do to support this, to fast-track recovery and help Ukraine unleash its potential? It's clear Russia must pay for the destruction that they've inflicted. So we're working with allies to explore lawful routes to use Russian assets. And on Monday, we published new legislation to allow us to keep sanctions in place until Russia pays up.
Our partners have already pledged $4.3 billion out of the total $14.1 billion needed for the rapid recovery for the next 12 months. But we still need another $6.55 billion. We have set an ambitious goal of securing pledges for this amount as a result of this conference.
Despite the ongoing war, continuous missile attacks, and the flood caused by the destruction of the dam, Ukraine will be ready to start accession negotiations soon. If this is the case, the EU should also be ready by the end of this year, after the regular autumn enlargement report. The concept of a merit-based process must work both ways. Ladies and gentlemen, Poland has already proven its credibility by providing humanitarian and military aid to Ukraine during the war. We are ready to play a trustworthy and reliable partner also for its post-war reconstruction. We are equipped to play this special role as a transport, logistics, and international hub.
Earlier today, rescue teams were racing to trace the origin of sounds heard from the depth of the North Atlantic in the search for a tourist submersible with 5 people on board that vanished on its descent to the century-old wreck of the Titanic. The Titan submersible went missing with 5 people on board on Sunday, shortly after starting its descent to the Titanic, the British ocean liner that sank in 1912 after hitting an iceberg. The wreck lies at a depth of about 12,500 feet. The United States Coast Guard said remotely operated vehicle searchers were deployed in the area where Canadian aircraft detected the undersea noises on Tuesday, as the submersible's air supply slowly runs down. CNN and Rolling Stone magazine, citing internal US government communications, reported the banging sound detected by the Canadian aircraft was sounding every 30 minutes. Gallo said he believed that was more likely to be from a human than from sea life.
If it's really every 30 minutes, I wonder how many how many times that repetitions that has happened. I would assume more than twice. Well, the ocean's full of surprises, so you never know. But I can't think of anything that would be that every 30 minutes. And I do know that P.H. Jaroslaw would do something like that to keep so let people know that they're there.
Ils ont perdu le contact.
But it's true that the fact that these noises are heard every 30 minutes, that they seem to be low frequency, i.e. that they are shock noises that can rise to the surface, is important. In the water column, acoustic propagation is not very good, so this type of noise, when someone knocks on a metal structure, will be heard in the water and quite far away, thank God. Rescuers face major obstacles both in finding the Titan and in saving the people aboard.
I think I've heard one report saying they're trying to find a mine in a minefield. It's super small, and if you're in the Titanic wreckage, there's all the other things there. So where's the sub and where's everything else? So that's super challenging as well. And obviously the bottom of the ocean is not necessarily flat either. It could be quite rugged, could be in a canyon, things like that. So really tricky challenge.
Submersible is sealed with bolts outside, preventing occupants from escaping without assistance, even if it surfaced. If Titan was stuck on the ocean floor, a rescue effort would face even bigger challenges because of the huge pressures and total darkness at a depth of more than 2 miles. Titanic expert Tim Matlin said it would be almost impossible to effect a sub-to-sub rescue on the seabed. A French robot that can dive to 20,000 feet underwater is on its way to help in the search. It is expected to arrive late on Wednesday, giving it a limited window to provide assistance before the Thursday morning deadline, by when the missing submersible's air supply is expected to run out. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.